And then I had these dreams where these people, maybe they're guides or maybe they're my soul tribe or whatever, coming to me after this very vividly, and they're teaching me how to reach enlightenment. Basically, it's like we're all jumping out of a plane with no parachutes. And before we hit the ground, I wake up. But before that happens, my daughter was little. She told me, "Mom, I know God before I knowed you." And this, we didn't ever go to church. We didn't ever speak about God. We never really told a 2-year-old about God, but she would tell me all the time that she's seen my dead ancestors and relatives, and she's been up the stairs, and only little kids could go up the stairs, and then they got to ride down a slide, big long slide. And don't let these negative, low vibrational emotions pull you down or keep you in any sort of state, because it's all temporary and everything has to change. Like,
hello, my friends. I'd like to introduce Nichole Johnston. She's an artist. She had an NDE experience that facilitated her awakening. She's going to share a little bit about that with us today. Welcome to the show, Nichole.
hello, thank you for having me.
All right. Why don't we start with your NDE experience and go
Okay.
from there? And then we can get a little background on you and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was in some dark places prior to this happening, and just the day before it happened, I was in the car riding with my grandmother, and I was feeling pretty low, pretty sad. And I told her, I said, I just want to die. I'd like to go be with God. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm exhausted living the lifestyle that I was living. I was using drugs pretty heavily at the time, in my free time, just kind of as a coping mechanism for kind of the heartbreak that I had gone through prior. I had a bad relationship that dissolved, and I felt like this person was my twin flame, or my other half, and was supposed to be my husband. And then he kind of just abruptly left my life in a very, very quick way. And so I was feeling pretty low and just tired. And so I said to her that I just wanted to die and go be with God. And I felt bad because my grandma's super Catholic. She's very devout and practices. And so, she's an older lady. She's 78 years old. And I felt sad about it and just kind of let it go at that. And then the next day I woke up, I went to work. I worked with my friend's wife, who spoke no English. It was my only first day working with her. So we did one gardening job. We went to our lunch break. We came to our second house that we were going to garden at for the rest of the day. And about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I bent down to show her a plant. And this was just on about 10 days before I turned 40. And every year around my birthday, I feel a real strong urge or a push from the universe or from wherever that makes me feel like I need to live my life to its fullest potential. And I knew that I wasn't living right and I wasn't doing the right things, leading up to then. But around my 40th birthday, I felt this strong urge to change and to live to be my highest self and to figure out the meaning of life, why I'm here. I knew I was meant to be more than a mom, more than an artist, more than a gardener, more than what I've been living my life up to. And so I reached down to show her how to clip the tops of a plant off. And when I did, I reached right into the middle of a yellow jacket nest, and I was repeatedly stung over and over and over about my hands, my face, my neck. I ran out of my tool belt. I ran out of my shoes. I ran out of my clothes. I was trying to beat them off me for about a half a football field. And then I reached around the edge of the house, and I ran down a hill and into my work truck, and I sat on the curb to kind of catch my breath because I felt overwhelmed from being stung so much. And at that point, I started to feel my teeth getting smaller and my gums getting bigger. And I called my boss and asked him what to do. What do I do? What do I do? And he said to go to the nearest clinic and to get help. And so she started to run back up the hill. So I'm screaming at her in Spanish, Mildred, please come back. We have to go now. I can't breathe. And so she jumped in the truck and I jumped in the truck, and she took me to the nearest clinic. But on the way, I just felt compelled to pray. And so I started praying aloud, praying aloud, praying aloud. God, I'm sorry. I will never do this again. I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said. So just the very next day after I said these things, I was having this near-death experience. By the time I got to the clinic, I was losing consciousness. I was going in and out. It was getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. Finally, I kind of threw myself over the counter when we got there. They just kept asking me questions, my name, my insurance card. And I just kept telling them, everything's in the car. I need to have epi. I need epi. I need Benadryl. Please help me. And so they gave me all of the medicine that they had in their clinic. And then they called an ambulance. And on my ambulance ride, I was also in and out of consciousness. And they just kept, I'd wake up long enough to answer a couple of questions. And then I was back out of consciousness again. And they kept saying, stay with us, But the whole time, I just remember feeling completely engulfed in the light. When you're close to death, I don't feel like it's dark or scary or fearful at all. I just felt very warm. It felt very bright. It kept getting wider and wider and brighter and brighter and brighter. And then before I was brought from the gurney into the actual hospital, I remember I lost consciousness again. And when I was out for however long, I realized that I saw all this like colorful, almost like orbs, just colorful light. And I went to it and I wanted to stay there. And I remember wanting to stay and being told, no, you can't stay. You have to go back. You have to go back to your children, and that's kind of when I woke up, and it was hours and hours had passed. I woke up and I looked down, my hands were black from my fingertips all the way up to about the middle of my arms. They were black from no circulation and all the swelling and having all that venom, I think, inside me. And they had given me a lot of medication by that point. So it was a really bizarre experience. But, time was no thing for me. Like this happened at 3:00 in the afternoon, and I woke up and started to come to about 7:30 at night. And I didn't even make it home until 10 that night. So it was something extraordinary.
They sent you home then?
Yeah, they did, but under supervision and heavy Benadryl. And now I have to carry EpiPens with me everywhere I go, especially when I'm gardening, especially when I'm outdoors. And I have been stung one more time since this happened, and I didn't die, but I did have to stick myself with the EpiPen. It was just one sting.
Did you know before this that you were allergic to yellow jackets
no,
and things like that?
No, but it's the second major time I've been stung like that. I stepped in a nest about 3 years ago at a different job doing gardening with them, and my friend used his hat to beat them off of me, and I ran, same situation. I ran from them and kind of threw myself in a mud hole until I could catch my breath, and I didn't have any reaction before this. So, I mean, you can develop a reaction or an allergy to them at any point. So it's real serious. And I mean, just one sting. I got stung in the back of the neck about 2 months ago, and I was, of course, scared. What's going to happen? Am I going to die? Is this going to happen all over again? But I used my EpiPen and I was okay. But I'm going to see an allergist to try to maybe get some of the venom in small doses so that I don't have to have this as a fear anymore. I don't want to live in fear, be able to have to garden in fear, watching my surroundings all the time, because I'm always kind of hypervigilant. And these are very aggressive. Yellow jackets are aggressive, so they'll keep stinging and stinging and stinging so you get away from them. So
yeah, they're no fun. When you saw the orbs and they told you to go back, is that all you saw was orbs, or did you see any people or anybody you knew, or?
No, it wasn't faces. It was more like just bright light, colorful light, different colors of lights, kind of. And I felt warmth. I felt the warmth of the surroundings, and it was so inviting, and it was so beautiful and so vibrant and bright. Just a lot of colors, a lot of colors, and a lot of warmth. And I just heard like distinctly, like, you can't stay. You have to go back. You have children. You're not done yet, is what basically was the message. Like, you're not done yet. You have a greater purpose to serve, and you have to go back. I wasn't allowed to stay. And then shortly after this happened, I've always been a very vivid dreamer, but my dreams became so much more clear. And I felt that push to find my life's truest purpose and to find my higher self. And then some years back, after that heartbreak, I did a little stint in a mental institution. And while I was there, the lady did my natal chart. And part of that was that I would get into with that natal reading. It was just a partial reading, but it told me that I would get into metaphysics, which I had no idea what that meant 3 or 4 years ago at the time. And so I ended up delving into metaphysics and into all of these different kind of like study of world religions, almost just spiritual things like Saint Germain Brotherhood and metaphysics itself and metaphysics practices for daily life and all these different things have spawned from this experience. I quit doing drugs, just not easily, but just wasn't serving me anymore. Kind of like
Right.
shutting in, and that was tough. I mean, it's been tough to let go and to rise above. And I was having a lot of other, I'd say, like low vibration things happening to me in my life. I don't want to say gang stalking, but some different things like that where I couldn't explain what was happening to me, being watched, being followed, my home, having my things moved around or tampered with, destroyed, vandalized, broken into. I had several break-ins. I had 4 years where I just had my belongings destroyed or vandalized or stolen. So, I think all of that was happening because I wasn't living my life the right way. And it was just little signs that I didn't. I resisted. I resisted in every way possible before this happened to me. And then it was kind of like zapping me into reality. This is your life. You get one of them. And if you're not living your life in the right ways, then you're not going to find that love. You're not going to find abundance and things. You won't find happiness and joy. And I was looking for external validation too. And this experience has taught me that validation comes from within and that I need to build my own self up, And I think to choose our words wisely and what we say does matter. And thoughts are things and words are weighted. And so when you say that you want to die and you really don't, then you shouldn't probably say that because there may be a great awakening for you in the future where the very next day you may be faced with a life or death situation. I don't feel like I was ever meant to die. And I think the whole time I prayed on the way to the hospital, I knew I wasn't going to die. I've always kind of had a special relationship with God. I had a real traumatic childhood and I went through a lot of abuse, and I prayed a lot as a kid. I prayed to keep my mom alive. I prayed to keep myself alive. I prayed to stay out of danger. I prayed for my own self. And I feel like that relationship with God never was dissolved or diluted in any way, but I think I lost touch of it. I think I felt forgotten for a long time, like the universe forgot about me, or I didn't matter, or my voice didn't matter, or what I thought didn't matter. And I felt forgotten. And I think this was a real wake-up call for me. It was a wake-up call to say, hey, you have this relationship with God, and God has always been there. You just have to recognize the signs,
That seems to be the case with most, if not all of humanity. We're a hard nut to crack. And so we usually have to have some sort of a crisis or several crises leading up to a major crisis to wake us up to what's really important in life and what we should be doing and getting off track.
I can say that since I've even affirmed with like the I am affirmations and things like that and seeing and visualizing and for the last year now, I would say I've been more in touch. Okay, well, this is my life's truest purpose. This is what I need to do. I've always been the person that people come to speak to about very personal things, whether it be a stranger or whether it be somebody I know very well. They open up to me easily. I'm an empath by nature. I'm very empathic. And so I think people see that and they recognize the light and they come to me and they pour their souls into me. And I don't always know. It's like free therapy. But I feel like I am here for that reason, to help people along, maybe creatively, like people will come through and see my artwork or they'll see me doing art and it awakens something inside of them that's more creative, or they've forgotten their creative passions. And I feel like it's my purpose and my goal to help them, to bring that out of themselves, hey, well, you can do it too, or here's some supplies, or here's some free paintings to hang on your wall if you're feeling like you don't have anything to inspire you. I give people my paintings often and it makes me feel good.
Well, welcome to the club. I'm an empath also, and I didn't know it till I was like in my 30s, and I thought I was going nuts or something. But I feel everybody's emotions, and I didn't know it at the time. I thought it was all mine. But and yeah, empaths naturally have a inclination to help. And just be careful and don't give yourself away.
Yeah.
I did that for years because I wanted to be a good person. I wanted to help, and you can't fix everybody. So just do what you can, but take care of yourself. Treat yourself the same way you treat other people is what
I've learned that the hard way. I didn't have any self-love ever before this happened. And learning to love myself has been the hardest part of this whole process is because I didn't feel deserving enough to have these blessings happen to me. I didn't feel like I deserved to have the love that I want. Accepting it, once you accept that it's okay to love yourself, it's not selfishness, it's actually self-love. And there's a fine line there, because I always see things as like, I'm fiercely independent and I don't like to ask for help. I've had to learn to do that. I've had to learn to ask for help in life. And that's part of it too, is like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show your weakness. It's okay to love. And I think the hardest part of being an empath is that you have to shut off what's yours and what's not yours. And it's so easy for me to walk in and just absorb everything around me. Finding that line and saying, okay, well, this isn't mine to carry. It's not my burden to hold on to. I can do so much, but I can't do it all.
Have you learned about the light bubble to
No.
shield yourself from the? So yeah, I thought I was going crazy until I found out how to shut them off when I didn't want to feel everything, and that was a way. So it's pretty simple. You just visualize a bubble of light around you. And you can you don't have to do it as a bubble of light. You can do it any way you want to, but that's my analogy for it. And visualize your all negative feelings and thoughts and things going outside of that bubble and nothing being able to penetrate that except light and love and kindness.
Okay.
And I still forget to do that, and I'll be somewhere and I'll start having all these feelings. I'm like, and then I'll oh yeah, okay, got to put up my light bubble. I'll send you, I have a little write up on it because I'm on a group of empaths, and a lot of people,
cool.
especially when they first find out, they don't know this. I'll send it to you on Messenger, and
perfect.
You can take a look at it.
Yeah, I would like that. I try to say it every day, and in the mirror or when I wake up, show my gratitude. Thank you for letting me wake up again. Thank you for letting me be here. Thanks for, the whole time this was happening, all I could think about was getting home to my two daughters that I had at the time were, I think, 12 and 9, something like that. And all I could think was, who's going to cook them dinner? I've got to get home to cook dinner. I have to go home and cook dinner. God, you cannot let me die because I have to go home and cook dinner. They're going to be hungry. So, I mean, by the time it all got sorted out, I think they ended up sharing the Subway sandwich that my grandma or my mom finally brought them at like 8 o'clock at night. But I mean, that was the whole time. That's all I could think about was getting home to my girls. I'm a single mom, so getting home to them, feeding them dinner, making sure that they had a mom the next day. But I did learn, that your words are weighted, and the things that we say matter so much. We know words can hurt. We know that words can heal. We know that as long as we say the right things, then we're going to be doing the right things. But I never, ever imagined that it would happen the way that it did. And I mean, I've written this down in my journal. I've shared it with a few personal friends, but I've never really told anybody in a mainstream way, like, how my experience was. And for me, it was life changing. Like it was time to wake up, and it was time to change my life. It was time to let the drugs go. It was time to let the things that didn't serve me anymore go, and to really try to find that highest self in myself, and the whole like the waking up thing just kind of felt everything has just fallen into place in a perfect harmony. Like there's no disharmony in my life now. I wake up and say I'm alive and aligned every day, and I say I am the resurrection and the life every day, and I say that I'm not going to let anything except for love and light surround me and come into my life, and I have no more evil things happening. I don't have these low vibrational people in my life. I don't have any harm happening to me. I feel protected anywhere I go. I could walk at night down the street by myself, and I know that I'm going to be safe. And that's so liberating, such a liberating thing. And then I have these dreams where these people, maybe they're guides or maybe they're my soul tribe or whatever, coming to me after this very vividly, and they're teaching me how to reach enlightenment. Basically, it's like we're all jumping out of a plane with no parachutes. And before we hit the ground, I wake up. But before that happens, the way to enlightenment, they told me, was to think of as many happy things as I can in succession as fast as I could. And the quicker I can do that, then that is how I liberate myself. That's how I reach enlightenment. And they all get to go on. But I have not mastered this skill yet. There must be a blockage there or something like that. So when I'm feeling triggered during the day, because I get physical triggers often, usually it's things in my environment, a lot of like, I work outside, so I'm hearing construction all the time. loud noises and trucks, and I have PTSD. So things startle me. I jump easy. So when I'm feeling extra triggered, I just try to, say aloud like as many happy thoughts or things that I can think of and as quickly as I can. And it definitely lifts my mood. It definitely helps me to like get back on track. And these are all things that these dreams that I'm getting overloaded with these very vivid dreams now. They're kind of guiding me, I think, through my dreams, which I think is the fifth dimension. I think it's that other layer of consciousness that I'm penetrating or I'm kind of crossing over when I sleep at night, and they guide me through, and I wake up feeling like, okay, well, I can do this. I can do this. I feel empowered. I feel like I've stepped into my power now and that I'm living a more divine life than I've ever lived before. So I think it's really been a blessing. It was challenging at the time. It wasn't something I would have asked for, but I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that I was able to wake up, and I'm glad I did it at 40 because now I have the next 40 years to look forward to helping other people and helping myself to have that happiness. And now I know how to achieve it. I know how to speak. I know how to not speak. So that's really been wonderful for me. And I don't even fear the yellow jackets anymore. I just work around them, and I can get a feeling when they're near me. I told my friend that earlier. I said, when I'm working, I kind of get like an electric feeling when I'm near them, and then I have to stop and remind myself, okay, so just reach in, kind of assess your situation a little bit, take a step back, view your surroundings. If you see things buzzing around that you don't feel good about, just step back. And I've been able to connect in that way.
Becoming more sensitive to your intuitions and so forth. I'm a firm believer that our thoughts, beliefs, and our words actually create our reality. Are you of the mindset that we plan our lives before we come here? Have you delved into that much?
That way. Yeah, I'm starting to feel that way. When I was really little, I have this vivid memory about 2 years old, and I can remember things very, very far back, long, long, long ago. I remember sitting in my closet around, I was born in the 80s, so I had all these jelly shoes, and I had my little toys, and I always kept everything nice and neat up on a shelf. I had these like birds with pipes in their mouth that smoked these pipes. You could never sell them now, but there was a whole line of these crows that had these pipes in their mouth. And I remember a male's presence coming to me and saying, "You have a high purpose in this life. You're meant for greatness." And I was a little girl, and he said, "Someday these things, you're going to keep care of them because they're going to be what's called an antique, and you have to take care of these little things of yours because they will be an antique someday. And someday you're going to look back and you're going to love all your things, but only hold on to the things that mean something so much to you because they're just things." And I remember that was kind of like my first conversation with probably maybe God, maybe a guide, maybe somebody. But I mean, I had this guidance, and I was scared and fearful at the time. That's why I was in my closet, probably during a traumatic experience. But I was in there and I felt good and I was protected. And he told me, you're here for more. There's much more to your life than you even know. And I've always known that I was meant for greatness, and that's what I say of like every birthday that I've had ever since I was a kid. I feel this urge, this push, this like urge to live to my fullest potential. And I've always been searching for the meaning of life. I just felt different than other people. And I was diagnosed as an adult with ADHD and PTSD and a bunch of other things, bipolar, other stuff like that. But I feel like I don't even need the medicines now. I mean, I feel like I take one medicine or two medicines a day. I also have Crohn's disease. So I have other things in my life where I've spoken to God and bartered with him and said, hey, if you heal me, if you make me better, if you get me out of this sickness, I promise I'll live a better life. Things like that. So, and so far, I mean, I've been in remission for 13 years now, and that's been good. It's been great. So I do think that my dialogue, this open dialogue that I've had, and I do believe that your life is somewhat planned out. I think we have this karmic path that we choose, or our souls choose before we incarnate. And probably I chose this hard road. I don't know. I've always learned everything in this life the hardest way possible. I feel like I've been a little bit resistant, a little bit of a hard head. But I would say that overall, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change my parents. I wouldn't change how I came into the world. I wouldn't change my hardships because they shape you into who you are and how you become, how you turn out, what you value, how you value yourself. And so now I feel like I'm ready for all the abundance that the world can give me. I feel like my art career is going to blow up in the next few years. And I've been telling people that for a while now, like, you better catch on, because if you don't grab a hold, I'm going to blast off without you. I'm going to soar. I will soar, but people don't like, you're going to need blinders for when I take off, because it's going to be hard and fast. When it does, I'm not going to look back. You don't catch a hold of me or grab a piece of me, you're not going to get any of it.
Those are your paintings behind you?
It is. Yeah, that's one of them. Surrounded by them. Actually, they're all over my whole house.
Those are
But,
cool. Do they
yeah.
each have some meaning to them, or sometimes is it just random?
No, I'm an abstract artist, but I do paint. People give me a list of things that are valuable to them or meaningful to them, then I will put them, and I do paint edge to edge always. Like, every part of the canvas is covered like in a collage style, but I'll put everything that's, valuable or meaningful to your life in that painting and make it like a personalized collage. I've sent them all over. Sent one to Texas that had over 69 different items in it. So pretty cool.
That's
Did one for
awesome.
my brother, and his burned up in a fire, but I'm gonna redo another for him. And it had like our family dog, and he's at HVAC business, so I did an air conditioner and a grill with steaks on it and a speedboat. Bunch of different things that meant something to him. So
Cool.
yeah, I do both. I do a little bit of the abstract and a little bit of the regular, listed
So do
items.
you have any of the dreams that you had? Do you have any of those that you would care to share with us, or in
Well,
particular,
yeah, I
or?
mean, the guided dreams are my favorite, and I feel like I told you, that relationship could dissolve. I have a lot of dreams where we are, and it's not even so much dreams as like I can feel things in the night. Like, I feel very connected to this energy of this other person that I was with. I feel like we are twin flames. I feel like he comes to me in my dreams, and we don't speak in the 3D level. We've had no contact in 3 years, but everything that I feel like as I improve, maybe I'm still connected to him energetically, and I'm hoping that I'm helping him to awaken and to align with his highest self too still. And I still have hopes of reuniting with him in life, and if not, then hopefully in the 5D we just keep on building each other into a better state. But I have a lot of those dreams where I did lose a baby in between, before my oldest was born, and I have dreams that I've had this boy and that he's 5 years old, 6 years old, growing and walking and talking, and he's with my other two daughters. And I feel like maybe if I do find that love, or that love does come back to me, that we'll have another child. And I have this boy, like, it's been kind of shown to me, like, you will have 3 children. I was told that a long time ago, and that I'll have this boy sometime soon. So I think that a reunion is in my future. I keep seeing it in my dreams between this person and myself. I just don't feel like, I mean, I felt like when I sat with him the first time that he was going to be my husband, that we were going to love each other for the rest of our lives. And it was just this feeling that I had. And this is before any of this happened to me. I was that intuitive, I felt that, but still feel like we're not done yet. I think our story is just beginning and not ending, even though it
Do
didn't
you
start the way we wanted. But
do you believe in reincarnation?
I do. I
Okay.
do. And I've actually just started to get into that a little bit more, and to talk about it and delve into that. In a lot of ways, my mom was young when she had me. She was only 18. And I sometimes am more the mother in the relationship, and she's more like the older sister. And so I feel like maybe in a past life, maybe she was my real mom and like I'm the mom now. But I do believe that. I do believe that we will incarnate again, and I think that we pick our person, or we pick our body or our journey based on before we come here. When my daughter was little, she told me, "Mom, I know God before I knowed you." And this, we didn't ever go to church. We didn't ever speak about God. We never really told a 2-year-old about God. But she would tell me all the time that she's seen my dead ancestors and relatives, and she's been up the stairs, and only little kids could go up the stairs, and then they got to ride down a big long slide. And then she said, "But I can only go up there for a little bit longer, Mom, because pretty soon I'm going to be too big, and they don't let the big kids go up there." And then, eventually she outgrew it, and she doesn't remember even saying any of that stuff to me now. But I
Well,
feel like, yeah, I feel like it was really powerful. She told me all the time, though, "I know God before I know you." So, I
any
mean, that
specific
even further to believe.
Any specific stories that she told you that you recall that were pretty profound or?
Yeah, she told me she met my great grandmother. She told me, she said, I met that old lady there on the wall. That's Grandma Eleanor, right? And I said, yeah, that's my great grandma. And she said, I go to her before. I go to her up the stairs to God, and that she was there, and Grandpa was there too. And she said it on the date of the anniversary of my grandmother. She was 8 months pregnant with my uncle, my grandmother, when he was killed in an automobile accident. So my uncle never met his dad, and my mom was only 5 when her dad died. And so my kid told me on the date of the anniversary of his death that she met him and knew him by name. Oh, that's my grandpa Gary, she said. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I feel like she's highly spiritual too, but she doesn't like any of the stuff that I'm into right now. She's only 10. And so she's like, Mom, I don't want to hear about your astrology or your moon shit. I just want to hear about it. But I'm hoping that as she gets older, she will kind of come into her own a little bit, and she'll accept the things that I know as gifts now, and I can kind of pass them on. But, all my kids' friends like me, and I try to interject like all the love and the light and the kindness and the how we need to not be judgmental, because they're so judgmental at this age. I would hate to be in school. I would hate to have a phone. I would hate to even grow up in this time. I mean, I grew up in a simpler time, I feel like, and kids these days with the pressures and the serotonin popping off in their brain from being on the phone, it's
Yeah.
just a different world to navigate. So as often as I can, I do try to teach them that, living love and above is the only way to live, because if you live anywhere below love, then you're letting in those negative feelings, those negative emotions. I started reading books by David R. Hawkins,
Oh,
and
okay.
he's incredible. And so I learned about the map of consciousness, and I think that also has held along my spiritual path and changed my life in ways, because now that I know about that map, and I know that I was living down in guilt and shame and just a step above death, then that propelled me and kind of forced me up the levels of consciousness to where I don't feel in fear, or I don't even experience fear at all. It doesn't even come into my existence. Like, I can't tell you when the last time I cried out of sadness was. I cry sometimes out of this heartbreak that I still have, that I still carry. I still feel overwhelmed by that kind of broken heart emotion, but I also recognize that sometimes space is needed for us to find ourselves. And I think that I needed to have that space for self-preservation,
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. Well, you definitely volunteered for this time. I think most of I hate to say it, I'm 65. So, and I've been on this path probably about 35 years or so. And so, just 20 years ago, I was just thought of as crazy talking about any of this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But I think the previous generations from mine, which is yours and your kids and so on, and I have kids and grandkids too, all volunteered for this time to help this shift in consciousness that I believe is happening all around us right now. But
I think so too.
there's a
Yeah,
divide
I think
though.
it's happening. I think we're seeing it, and maybe not on a global level, or the big level like I'd like to see it. Like, I want to see everybody awake. I think if everybody just operated out of love, there would be nothing negative. We would have no problems. Everything would be a positive experience. And I feel like we could get there someday. We could get there someday soon, maybe, if everybody just kind of could get that one thing, that one point of
I'm
love.
hoping
Love.
we don't have to have a crisis though for it to,
Yeah.
because that's our legacy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It is happening around the world, but there is a divide. There's people that don't want to wake up. It's like somebody you're trying to wake up out of bed. I don't want. I want to sleep. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
You got to throw water on them.
Yeah, my
So
kids think that's pretty crazy. I mean, and a lot of people that I do meet resistance a lot, and I think that I just exude a natural ability or a natural light about me, and people feel threatened. I feel like that's where I think this low vibration stuff has come into my life, is to test me and to see. I was very reactive before this happened to me, super reactive, like temper wise. Like, I didn't know how to regulate any of my emotions, and I'm better at that now. I can regulate my emotions a little bit better. I can feel when triggers are happening. I can feel when I'm being risen up, mentally, physically. I can feel when things are escalating, and I can de-escalate now. I can regulate those emotions. I can place them, and that's without therapy, and that's without a lot of stuff. I mean, I did therapy for a year, but I don't feel like it was very helpful. She just kept wanting me to go to drug rehab, and I was like, listen, I've done almost every drug there is out there to do. I've done LSD, I've done cocaine, I've done it all. I've done it all except for heavy opiates, heroin, and that. And anytime I've ever wanted to put down a drug, I just decided, okay, this is the day, I'm done, and I don't do it anymore. And that's what I did. And that's really what you have to do if you want to be with God and you want to awaken spiritually and you want to raise those levels of consciousness. You can't be, I guess, what is it called when you're saying something but you're not doing it, like
hypocrite.
Cognitive dissonance, yeah.
Or cognitive dissonance,
like, okay, well, I'm going to stop smoking, but I'm going to keep buying packs of cigarettes. And that's my next. I'm going to try to quit smoking cigarettes soon, but you can't quit everything all at once. So, but I mean, definitely, I think when you have that cognitive dissonance, that's so important too to focus on, is when you're trying to manifest, or you're trying to live in abundance, or you're trying to bring forth any good thoughts, then you have to feel it too. You can't just say it, but you have to feel it, and you have to think it all the time, and you have to write it down, and you have to visualize it, and you have to live the way that you want to live. And so you naturally will just shed those things that don't suit you anymore. You just move out of them and start to build this beautiful life that you can have. And your whole relationship with God changes. I mean, even 6 months ago or a year ago, this is what's crazy about time for me, is that even 1 year ago, I can look back and see through my journaling what a dark place I was in, how lonely I felt, how unsupported I felt, how sad I felt. And I can look back 3 or 4 months and see just in that 3 or 4 month period, like how my attitude has gotten more and more and more positive, the more that I've become more spiritual and the more I've learned. And I learn every day. I read books every day. I watch YouTube every day. I download different things every day.
Do you,
it's been amazing.
Do you do any meditations or anything like that?
I do.
Okay.
Yep, I started meditating about shortly after this happened to me. I started meditating within the month after this happened, and I didn't think I was good at it, and I didn't think it was working. But then, like, as I started to meditate, I could see colors, and it got brighter and brighter. And then I started to actually be able to do some guided meditations and then visualize certain things. And then I started to meditate, like I'd spend like a whole day meditating, like every 15 minutes. Just,
awesome.
I spent this whole past year actually in a lot of isolation, where I just did meditating or just focused on that. And even now when I feel triggered, I go for a lot of walks, and that always calms me down. So I kind of walk and meditate at the same time. I've learned to do that. And I spend a lot of time in nature. I'm gardening every day. So my mind is not racing with crazy thoughts or with all this other stuff. I'm able to just focus on the present, let myself lose myself in my tasks. And I almost feel like my hands are magic tools. Like I feel like I have these magic hands. I protect my hands. I can do things with plants that other people can't do that are just amazing. Like I've learned how to Edward Scissorhands bushes really well, like with hand shears. And I just have this natural ability that I felt blocked for a while. When I was using drugs a lot, I felt like I had all those gifts were blocked. They were almost like my hands fumbled around. I couldn't even pick up the leaves right, or I couldn't strip a plant of their yellow leaves correctly. I felt like I was being intentionally blocked, or I dropped things all the time. I couldn't hold anything in my hands right. I dropped things in the morning when I was getting ready, really super forgetful. And once I kind of started to align my physical self with my mental self and realize that we're all connected, that my body is connected to my mind and everything is connected, then everything just has aligned so much. There's no discord. There's no fumbling everything around. There's no talking too fast or talking too slow. There's, everything kind of has fallen into place for me. And I'm starting to see that my life is, and I don't want to jinx myself, but, abundance is happening. Like I'm getting raises. I'm being elevated in my job. I'm meeting people that I wouldn't say are below me or beneath me, but maybe haven't come along as far as I have, and I'm able to kind of guide them. And I have a real troubled soul that I met through my job that, is in a bad way. And I've been able to just kind of like mentor her a little bit and open some doors for her. She's lonely. She doesn't have people here, support system. And I felt completely unsupported at times. I felt completely traumatized at many times in my life. And I feel like I'm able to be there now for people in a way that I wasn't able. I was so focused on what was happening to me during those dark times that I wasn't able to put my focus anywhere else, not even on my children. Like, I felt so selfish. When I look back, it was so selfish of me to be lost in that despair and in those negative feelings, just being pulled down all the time. Like, I mean, I've been close to thinking about suicide many times, and I'm not suicidal. I don't even believe in it. But I've been that low where I'm like, why am I even here? You know, what is my purpose? And I feel like ever since this happened to me, there's no room for any of that anymore. Like, I don't ever question my own existence. I don't question my bond between myself and God or source or any of that. Like, I know that we are all here and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So, you know, I started watching that different things about like how our DNA goes back like 14 different generations. And I thought, wow, that's so amazing. Like, I'm a thread of what my ancestors were. And, you know, karmically, maybe I'm taken some of that with me, or maybe it's from before, whatever. Maybe, you know, because I've always wondered, and I got into the law of attraction a lot this year, like reading about it, learning
Right.
about it. I've read some of the Seth books. I've read the law of attraction. I've, you know, gone through it, and it's like living in that way. Like, I didn't agree with all of it first. Like, I was just a little innocent child when I was born into this trauma. Like, how does that work? You know, why me? And I felt really bad for myself for a long time, and I felt like, oh, this isn't fair. Why does everybody else I know that uses doesn't have these things happening to them? But I feel like I am here to lead by example. And if
Yeah.
my example is what it's got to take, if I have to take one for the team all the time, because that's what I've done my whole life is take one for the team, then that's my purpose. That is why I'm being tested. And I see everything in my life as a test. And if I'm
In
passing all the tests, then I'm able to hold up my end of the bargain, you know?
in my opinion, the master of law of attraction is Neville Goddard. Have you read any of his stuff or looked into?
I have read Neville Goddard. Yes, I have. And the very first book that I ever read when I started this whole process was the Laws of Success. And I've not finished the book, but I've read a lot of it. And that is what has. And I don't know how these things showed up in my Apple books. I don't know how they showed up in my YouTube. I never searched for any of this. It's like they were divinely put there for me to find. And that's the other thing that I have to express is that all of this stuff that I found, all these metaphysics things, it was like the God gave them to me, showed them to me, and handed them to me. I never searched for it. I never knew what to search for. I never even put in consciousness or any of that in my search engines, none of it. And it's all shown up in my phone and on my stuff, just like Saint Germain, all of that stuff. I've learned all of this just by opening that door. Once the door opened, it all just has like a spreadsheet come to me. Like, and I also skilled myself in the dark art of manipulation and psychology. Like, I read all that stuff too, just as a because that all happened to me before this. Like during my
Yeah.
drug use and all of that whole dark art of manipulation. That's what all was happening to me. I met some really awful people that really changed the course of my life. But I thank them now. I'm grateful to them now because through that darkness, I've been pushed by any means necessary. They did not let me forget. Like every time I fell off the wagon, and I'd go months without using. I'd go 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and then somebody very close to me, whom I don't want to name a name, would come around and say to me, "Oh, here, I have these drugs. Let's do them together." And it was somebody that's really close to me, and I've had to make boundaries, which I didn't do before. All these things I've learned just like that one door open, and once that one door swings open, it's like the door, like they say, the door that does not close. So
Yeah.
all the carpet just revealed to me the blessings, you know.
That
And I,
makes it very difficult when somebody really close to you. You have to change who you associate with to really walk away from all of that.
yeah,
I
when it's
went
a
through some of
family
that
member,
too,
it's
so
hard.
I understand.
Yeah, a lot of my family is still low vibrational. I'm going to say that, but not all of them, but a lot of them are still battling addiction, battling their own inner demons. And I feel like my journey, my example, I'm not, you know, part of the law of attraction is art of allowing. So I have to allow them to be how they are. I don't have
Yeah.
to accept it or let it into my life, but I do have to allow them to be. And so I feel like through my rise up through the consciousness levels and through my spirituality, through my being an example, I'm going to be a beacon of hope and light And that's what I want to be, is to serve as a beacon of hope and just an example for other people that are in a dark place, or thinking about suicide, thinking about, I can't do this no more. It's so bad. Everything's so bad. There's always hope. There's always light, and light does always, always overpower over darkness. I mean, I think if you can find that light and you can get there and just even one little bit will help you to open your mind, open your door. But you have to be willing to. You have to be willing to accept it, to quit resisting.
There's a saying. There's a saying, you may have heard it before, where it says, "Before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After
Never heard
enlightenment, chop wood and carry water."
Oh wow!
And so
Yeah.
you have to think about that. But you've come a long way. It sounds like when you can see your challenges as opportunities, like you're talking about now, and when you can learn to love the unlovable, for me, that's enlightenment. So, like you were talking about your family or people or friends that are battling addiction, you can still love them, but you don't have to allow them to take advantage of you or be in your life if it's that bad. It depends on the situation, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah, I mean, I just see, I see people I'm able to see people for the sadness. It just makes me sad. You know, when I see that, I just feel sad for them because I know what it's like. I put myself there and I think, this person doesn't want to steal from you. He doesn't want to be how he is, but he doesn't have any other way and he doesn't know any other way. And so people are resigned to what they're battling, really. I mean, like, I don't call people a thief anymore. I don't call people a liar anymore. I don't call people or judge people out on how they may act. Their actions are not always who they are. It's just how they are because of another circumstance. I can relate in that way. And I feel like I never was a liar or a thief or a cheat or anything like that, but I can see how people get there. I can see the sadness and the travesty in it. And I feel like they just had one person to help them see the way or to get on the path. If we all could just aid in one person getting on the path, then maybe we can start to that awakening,
Can you see now why you might have chose this life? You had to go through all that you went through so that you could be the angel of light to other people who are going through it.
Yeah.
So
and when you're
that's one
so
way to look
down
at it.
in that, yeah, I do see that. I mean, and I had to stop hitting myself too. And why me? Why is this happening to me? I don't see anybody else doing this. This is not, I just had to accept things for how they were. This is how it is. Okay, hey, if you're going to come to my house and destroy all my stuff, okay, the door is open. I don't even lock my door anymore. And that's the difference between now and 2 years ago. I used to have 3 locks on the door and everybody couldn't tell us couldn't let my kids let people know where we lived. I mean, I was paranoid. I was living in a way where I was hyper vigilant all the time, like protecting my belongings, tying my clothes in a sack before I go to work. All these little ritual things that I don't do anymore. I've let them all go. Like, I don't have to protect myself or protect my belongings. If somebody would have told me that 2 years ago, I could have just said, I am the love and the light, and I am protected by God. I am the divine supreme being of God. If I could say these things aloud and believe them and know that that was the way to get out of this pain, I would have done this. I would have done this 4 years ago, but nobody gives you this formula. It's all just happened for me to just fall into place. And it's by reading and it's by enlightening myself and trying to walk the path. And now that I'm on the path, I don't think I'll ever get off. And I want to share it with other people. And I want other people to know that, hey, I'm middle of America. I'm in the middle of America, and bad things can happen anywhere and everywhere, but it's how you perceive your reality. And I think that you create the reality that you live in based on your thoughts, based on your words, based on your actions, based on living that truth that is there. And I've always been a truth seeker. I mean, I've done one wrong thing in my whole life, and that was I cheated one time, and the guy was married, and I have a kid with a married man, and his wife doesn't know. And I have not put that publicly, but I mean, that's the worst thing I've ever done. And I carried this guilt and this shame all the time about it. And it's like, well, that's the last thing. And I need to go there with my child and say, hey, this is what's happened. This is my daughter. You have a daughter, and he knows, but his wife doesn't know. And I need to tell her because she's my friend. And I need to do that soon. But I mean, it's something that I've got to do. And that's the last thing that I think I need to do to rise to that next level and keep moving on. I mean, I did the thing, and now I have to pay for it. And I don't regret my time at all, but
don't let the
You
guilt
know?
eat you up. Guilt is only good for one thing. It's to let you know that you did something wrong, but don't dwell there.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's been
I made a mistake.
it's
It's
been
time
hard.
to move. It's time to move forward, because people sometimes dwell in guilt for years or their whole life,
Mhm.
depending on what they feel guilty about. And
Yeah, and I
so
think that was part of it why I used so much. I think that was part of why I was, going to drugs and doing drugs and coping and the heartbreak and the constant pain, and like I've had no good relationships. And I mean, I can't say no good relationships, but all of the relationships that I've had up to this point have never fulfilled me in that way. So I just feel like now is the time that I'll be able to reach all of the things that I want to reach and accomplish everything, because I'm at a point now in my life where I see the I see all of the big picture. I see the good and the bad, and I know what I need to do and where I need to go and the purpose that the path that I'm on. I can see the light now. I can see the way, and that's the last thing that I need to get off my heart so that I can move forward, I think. But
yeah.
and that's a bit, I don't tell anybody that. And, here I am on national podcast telling everybody, hearing all my dirty laundry. But I
Well,
think it's
luckily I'm
important
a
to know
small channel, so you will right now
that's okay.
anyways, it's growing
Yeah,
though. So
that's good. That shows my vulnerability, and I am just human. I am just a human person, and I'm gonna learn, I hope, for the rest of my life. But I think it's important to just really think about what you want in this life, and to direct your path in the most positive direction, and don't let these negative low vibrational emotions pull you down or keep you in any sort of state, because it's all temporary and everything has to change. Like nothing can stay the same. So even at your lowest, you're going to rise above. You're going to come out of it at some point. So, and there were
there's a
times when I didn't recognize that.
there's a quote that I always remember that I like. It goes, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future.
That's perfect. I mean,
And
it's
so
simple, but it's perfect.
yeah, I like simple. And those sayings, they're truths. They're eternal truths, if you ask me. A lot of them. So
Yeah, and those are what I'm learning now. So those eternal truths, those natural laws, those nature's laws, like the universal laws, those are the things that I've filled my last year with, is like just trying to learn them and to put them into action. Like I'm not perfect at this whole like how to manifest things yet. I don't quite know, but I know that on the full moons I try to get rid of all the things that don't serve me. I try to keep a daily journal of how I'm feeling, and I've done that for years. But I think it's even more important now, because I can look back even 3 months ago and go, oh wow, I can't believe I felt that way, or man, I was doing so great, or and I keep like all of the things I'm learning kind of relevant in that timeline, so I can see how my timeline can shift, and I feel like, wow, well, if I'm in control of my own reality, and time is nothing, time is not linear, then maybe my highest self is ready for me to level up here, like, or I'm ready to you know, upgrade a little bit. It's
I
pretty cool.
tell
Like,
I tell people who kind of poo-poo the law of attraction stuff. I say, take stock of your majority thoughts for a couple of weeks, or at least a week, and then think back to your life, and especially the times where you felt it was the darkest. And what were your majority of thoughts most of the time? What were your thoughts and your beliefs? And the life around you is a mirror, as Neville Goddard would say, and it's reflecting back to you your majority thoughts and
it's
beliefs.
absolutely right. I mean, I felt like a hamster in a cage. So every day I felt like it was Groundhog's Day for about 3 months. And I'd wake up, and I was not working at the time. So I just wake up and smoke drugs all day. And then wait for my kids to come home from school, cook them dinner, and continue to smoke drugs until I went to bed, wake up, smoke drugs all day, maybe
Yeah,
do some art, maybe not. And my art has stifled. My art sat for a whole year. I did no art during that whole the drug infused period, because I didn't have no creativity. I didn't have
yeah.
any muse to inspire me. I had nothing. Every time I would try to draw something, it would end up shitty. I think I did 3 paintings in a whole year, and it was no good. They were no good. And so, I mean, a lot of them I poked holes in or tore up or thrown away, because it was just no good. It was not a good creative period for me. And now that I've gone through these experiences, and I'm getting back on this path, and I have started to live my truth and speak my truth, and to really know where I'm going and what I want. Like, I didn't even know what I wanted before. I couldn't even tell you, oh, this is what I want or I desire or how to get it. like I didn't even know what I wanted because I was so lost in that dark place. Like, and I had all this childhood trauma that I've had to work through. And the healing part of it has been really, I think what's most liberating is learning how to heal, learning how to heal that inner child that was so scared and so hurt and so upset about it. Like I was just upset, like, oh, I never had the mom that I wanted. I never got the love that I got. I was completely neglected, and I was emotionally neglected, and I had to learn to, and I was very much ridiculed a lot by my stepdad as a kid from a very early age, all the way up until, and so I was beautiful. I was very beautiful when I was younger, and I never recognized that. And now I look back at my photographs and pictures of even in my 20s and 30s, and I thought, oh my gosh, my beauty, I'm fading. I'm not beautiful anymore. But even in the last year since this has happened, I feel like I have a renewed beauty and a renewed look about myself. Yeah, I maybe not look the same as I did when I was in my 20s, but I'm still okay for 41. I'm not doing so bad. I can get out there and it's just like confidence like that you have. Like I feel like there's a renewed confidence that I have in my spirit and in myself, and maybe my outside appearance isn't the same, but I've lost almost 100 pounds in the last year since I
Awesome.
started doing all this stuff. I feel healthier than I've ever been. My Crohn's is in remission. I'm not having a hard time breathing with asthma or any of that. Like I feel like I could do. I got hit by a truck and I didn't. I didn't even take the rest of the day off. I kept working. I got hit by a one-ton pickup truck at work, and I had a nasty bruise, but I had the heart of a rose in my pocket, which I landed on, and the cross in my chest. And I used to carry a cross in my breast in my bra every day just to kind of protect me before any of this happened. And I was hit by a truck, and I had the heart of the rose bruise on my stomach and the bruise of a cross on my breast. And
Oh,
I swear that's what saved me. It put me in a 360, and I hit the ground, and I just got right up. I kept working for the rest of the day. I took the next day off because I was pretty hurting. But, if I can get hit by a one-ton pickup truck and keep it moving, there's anything is possible. So
yeah,
I've
absolutely.
been
Yeah.
through it all. Been through it all, and I've come out unscathed. And I feel like everything that I've gone through, all the challenges, I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't take it back, and I don't regret any of it. I don't feel guilt over any of it. I don't feel ashamed to say that I used to use drugs. I mean, it happens. But I feel great that I've come out where I've come out. I mean, all these things I think that were meant to break me never did. And it shows resilience in your person and your character. All those things that my stepdad used to say to me to hurt my feelings, like all the while he said them, I never believed that stuff. I always believed like he is crazy. I'm not these things that he says. I'm still beautiful. I'm still all these things, but they still in your subconscious mind. Like that's what I've learned a lot about too, is your subconscious mind is so, so important. The things that you tell yourself and your subconscious, they are what's going to play out. They don't care. They don't care if it's a right thing to say or a wrong thing to say. Whatever you say to it is going to act on it. And I've studied the
And
subconscious mind a lot.
it got
Like that's
programmed. Yeah. And it got programmed mostly when you were a child. And so,
mm-hmm,
yeah, that's where your triggers, most of them come from. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, learning that stuff though. Nobody tells you that. This life does not come with a guide.
No.
And so I feel like if I would have had more support or a guide or even one person that is into the stuff that I'm into now. I mean, I'm in the middle of Omaha. It's like it's pretty cool here, but I've not met anybody that really is on the same path that I'm on, and I would like that more. I would like to meet up with more people in my area that are kind of feeling a similar way or more spiritual. And I'm hoping in time that as I get more involved in my community or I step out into the art community more, which I haven't had the courage to like really locally put my art out there. I want to a lot, and I always think about it, but I haven't had the courage to like go to the art galleries and say, hey, here's what my paintings look like, and I'd like to do this and this and this. So those are my next goals, but I have had the courage to sell, and I did really well when I did it. So
Awesome. So
yeah.
you had you not gone through what you've been through, you would not, and now that you're moving into abundance, you would not have the deeper understanding and appreciation of it that you would had you not gone through this kind of stuff. And
No,
so
I don't think so.
I have an analogy I give people. It's like if you can't fully and deeply appreciate sitting in a nice, warm, cozy house next to a fire, drinking your favorite hot beverage with a loved one or what have you, unless you've actually been out in the bitter cold before, you know.
That's absolutely right.
And
That's true.
so, and that's sort of a metaphor for life too. I think we're here experiencing some of the opposite of what we actually truly are, which in my opinion is our true essence is love.
It is love. Everything is guided by love. If you can just get to that love, the love phase, there's nothing bad that happens at love, and there's so many different forms of love and so many different ways to love and so many different types of love. I didn't even know until this past year about the different types of love, like the Greek loves, all the different kinds. I just thought that everything was eros. I thought everything was eros, and that's how you could love. I didn't know that you could love your dog a certain way, love your kid a certain way, love your pencil a certain way, love your lover a certain way. That there's different levels, but there are so many different ways that you can love and have ways to show love. And if everybody just acted out of love and only thought and wasn't so reactive, if we could just not be so reactive as a society and as a community and as a individual, then maybe we could actually get somewhere, And I quit watching the news. I don't know, maybe that's the wrong thing to do.
No,
a lot of people,
it's not the wrong thing to do. That's the right thing to do.
But I feel like I've had to disconnect in that way. I don't have cable TV. I don't watch TV unless it's like occasionally a Netflix show or a documentary or something like that. I watch a lot of documentaries because I enjoy them. I think they're ways to learn, and or like the national public television or something. But I don't sit and get this overload of more programmed bullshit from propaganda and media and all these, like right now is the political campaign going on, and the only reason I'm going to vote is because I don't want my name in public record. I got a card in the mail that said if I don't vote, it's going to be part of public record, and I don't really want my name out there like, oh, she didn't vote. I've always voted in every election, so I'm going to do it again. But I really don't put myself in that dramatic, the news media and like what the horrible things are happening in our community. The news never reports on all the great stuff. So if they start reporting on all the great stuff, maybe I'll start watching again. But until then, I've just really had to disconnect. It's kind of like being plugged into all these different things, and you feel like you only have one little socket to hold all of the plugs in your whole house. Eventually, something's going to blow out.
Yep.
And I felt like that. And I felt like my life was like that. I have all these inputs and all these plugs, and I just had to start pulling them out so that I could just get back to the basics and only have so much input. And the input that I put in is the stuff I'm interested in, the path I'm on, the universe, the metaphysics, the universal laws, Neville Godard, all that stuff. And the game of life and how to play it. I've read it all. I've done it all. And that's where I am now, is just continuing to educate myself and to learn and to eat up all the knowledge that I can. I want to learn from people that have been on the path for 35 years. I want to learn to meditate in the most fulfilling way. Like, I want to learn all of that stuff. I want all the tips and pointers and support that I can get. And I'm now learning how to ask and looking and learning what to look for and how to find. And I'm hoping that I can connect with other people in my community that will maybe be my soul tribe or be my friends and connect on a deepest level. So
you just keep doing what you're doing, your tribe eventually will show up. So some people say, well, you don't even have to look for them, but you can put things out there, put yourself out there, however you feel, prompted to. But yeah, you're on the right track. You're gonna go far.
I hope so. I hope I am. I mean, I hope I'm doing the right thing. I feel like when you have a near-death experience, it's for a reason. It's not because God wanted you to almost die and then just says, okay, well, nope, you're gonna go back to sit around and do some more drugs. That's not why.
I've listened and read hundreds of near-death experiences, and a lot of them talk about that you have those, that was part of your soul plan. Like if you're off track and you get far enough off track, you get something like a near-death experience or some other crisis to try and, kick you back towards the right track. So, but we all have free will. So, some people never get back on the right track, but most do.
Yeah, I feel like if you don't, then what is left? I mean, you can only go so far down. There's always got to be, rock bottom is called rock bottom for a reason. I mean, you go so far down, eventually you gotta find your way up. And I'm seeing in my family, like now that this has happened for me, I started talking with my brother about it. He is in a place where he's mentally, like, he's a very bad alcoholic, and he's had to do the last 6 months in jail in 3 different counties. And so he's even gone to prison for part of that. So now he's got his mind right. He's clear-minded, and he's got all these goals and dreams. He wants to open a nonprofit. He wants to get back to his HVAC business. I mean, just little things like that. Like, I feel like that that reverberation off of the one person, like,
Yeah.
you know, whatever I do has the ripple effect. And so maybe it's rippling through the people that I'm close to, like people that I'm working with that are still using near me. They see that I've kind of made different life path changes, and I don't even have to say anything. Just my presence alone is enough to, like, they'll come to me and say, hey, well, I quit using today, or I decided that I'm done with such and such and such. And they'll just come to me and divulge this information. Well, I didn't ask and I didn't tell them they needed to, but I feel like just my presence alone is enough to have been that catalyst, have been that, like, spur. Oh, she's doing this, maybe I could do that too. Or,
Yeah.
well, she's making some moves, maybe I want to make those moves too. And as my life improves, I mean, and this has been a quick thing. Like, I'll be 42 in April, and this happened just before I turned 40. And then, you know, that whole year, I felt pushed, and so I just kept at it, kept at it, kept at it. It didn't come right away, but the more I read and the more I learned, the more I started the practicing and the meditating and the getting in there. It's like, this is pushed quick. Like, you know, your life can go from bad to really good in a short amount of time, I feel like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It changes very quick. And yeah, we are all connected. It definitely, it's, you know, the pond and the rock in the pond with the ripple effect analogy is so true. And I've had some experiences in meditation where I have some experiential knowledge from that, whereas I always thought that was cool and everything, and it rang true to me until I had a meditation once where I was one with everything, and it's really hard to explain.
wow.
I do have a video on it. It's an older one where I explain it, but if you're interested in watching it,
Kind of
but
like the I changes from the I to we. That's what I envision someday. Like, you
yeah,
know,
well, I was everything. I was everybody,
that's amazing.
everything, the trees, everything, the earth, all the people, and I had less of a sense of me, but I still had a sense of me. It's it,
Hmm.
it's hard to explain.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've read a little bit about it. Like David R. Hawkins had the same experience when he was shivering cold in an igloo, and God came to him, and he had that whole he had a whole transformative kind of experience like that too, where, you know, he had to, and he describes it to where he's actually left his actual physical body, his mind, his soul, or whatever, and he had to bring himself back to that body and say, you know, he could see his body; it still functions down on Earth, but he's in this other like realm or existence, and he could see all that, but, you know, he had to, like, coach, and he had to make the conscious decision to go back to body
Yeah,
and remain in body and keep functioning as a body. Like, that's kind of where I mean, like, by the I goes from the I becomes more of a we, like the
yeah,
more universal, like you're everything everywhere. I'd love to get there someday, but I'm just
you
very
will.
new on my meditations and learning how to meditate and things like that. Like, I mean, it's
It,
been about a year now, but
it really brought home to me how everything you say, you do affects everybody. You know, you've probably heard it before where I said, well, if you do something to somebody else, you're doing it to yourself. You know, it's like, well, yeah, well, what does that mean? Now I know, I understand that. And I think I
mhm,
meditated for about a month, and my intention almost in every meditation was, who am I? I was asking that question.
mhm,
And basically what, you know, so now to put it into words, which you really can't, but to put it into words is I am the observer. So, you know, who's behind, you know, you're not your body, you're not even your thoughts, you're not your anger, you're not all of this stuff.
yeah.
You're the person or the source behind it all. It's kind of like a
You know,
computer.
yes, that's absolutely right. I mean, I watched that Elon Musk thing about the DNA and about how all of our DNA is intertwined and things. It's like, wow, well, we are the earth, we are the ground, we are the trees, we are everything. We're everything that ever came before us, and we're everything in our future too. I mean, we are everything in our future in essence. I mean, what we become is going to be our future, and we're going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back in these different ways. And I think the karmic laws and the soul paths and all these things that we do or choose before we come. I wish that I could remember. I wish that I could remember who I am and why I'm here. I would love to be able to unlock the mystery of, like, who am I? I want to know too. I want to know, why am I here? What's my purpose? That's
You
what I
can
really want to know.
make that an intent in your meditations for a while if you want, and you'll get an answer if you persevere.
I hope so. I hope so. That's what I want. I want to live to my life's fullest potential, and I want to do what I'm sent here to do. And I knew, like I said, from a little child that I'm here for great things. I'm destined for greatness. And I don't mean just material things. I mean, like, I'm here to make major changes and influence people and to help people and to be the change, to be the difference. And if I have to lead by example, well, so be it. I'm not going to resist anymore. I'm open to it now. I'm kind of, I guess I'm saying I'm in flow. I'm in flow now with the universe, and I don't feel out of sync. I don't feel messed up anymore. I don't feel like I can see the signs now. Like I went on a walk one time and I didn't know if I was going to go home or come home or not. And I seen this big piece of metal off the interstate bend into a big green question mark. And then I had all these little planks of wood that were green pointed, pointing me all the way home. Took me back to my home. And that's been where I knew I'd belong there. And I feel protected. This is the middle of the night. I walked to get cigarettes, actually, miles and miles. Like a 5-mile journey from my apartment to the nearest gas station open. And when I got there, the guy was locking the door, and I said, no. I have to buy these cigarettes. I've just come this way, and I need a glass of water. I've just come all this way, and I was crying outside of it. And my whole way home was like the universe gave me these signs and guided me all the way back home, because I was thinking, well, I could just wander off anywhere over here and nobody'd ever care. Nobody would ever know. I could just go over here and die and nobody would even be the wiser, except for the kids would be hungry in the morning. But, I got pointed. It's just been, if you're looking for the signs, you'll find them. If you're looking for your path, I mean, that's kind of really when it all happened too, is like I started recognizing the signs. I started, seeing that I was being pointed in the right path. And that's when I got on the path, and that's when my mind opened, is when I allowed it. I was so resistant before and so stubborn. I mean, I'm a Taurus and I'm stubborn. I really am, through and through. But it comes sometimes slower for others. But I'm still hoping and still
Well, use that stubbornness to stay on your path. Now,
yeah.
It can be used for good or bad, just like anything else. And so,
Sure.
yeah. And that guidance is there all the time, for all of us, for anybody. It's just, you just have to open to it. We're the ones that have turned away from it. And that's what people say.
I think it's a human trait. I think that's just us being human. If we we were told when we were little kids, like, okay, well, this is your purpose and this is what you're going to do, then what would be the fun in that? What would be the learning? I mean, I feel like everything here on this earth is for us to, everybody I meet, I look like, what can I learn from them? What can I be taught from them? What is this? Even children, and children are some of the best ones to talk to, because they tell you flat out like it is. They tell you how it is. I could meet a little child and they can open my mind to things that I didn't even think, like, oh, wow, that's cool that you thought that way. Or, I just look for everybody as, what lesson can I learn from this person? Yeah, but I mean, if this wouldn't have happened to me, who knows? I could probably still just be, pissing away my talents and my gifts and not doing the right things. But I'm fortunate. I feel grateful. I feel a lot of gratitude. They say that the beginning is to live from gratitude, and start with gratitude. It changes your attitude, all of that. And I didn't know how to do all that before. And I think, you just automatically, when you wake up out of a near-death experience, you're grateful. Like, you're almost sad. I was almost sad when I came back. Like, I felt like, well, why am I back here? I thought I was going, and I thought death, I was terrified to die. I didn't want to die. But after this, I don't fear death anymore. I think death is going to be a beautiful experience. Going to God is actually going to be a great thing. I know that when I get there, I'm going to have all these wonderful people waiting for me, and everything that I've gone through will be, recognized. And I know that I'm protected now, and I know that I'm being guided, and I know that I'm going to be okay. I don't fear that anymore. Death is not scary for me. I don't feel scared of dying, and I know that it's not going to be a dark, scary, gloomy purgatory or anything like that. I think even people that or done the worst of the worst will go on, if they want to heaven. If you have that relationship and you want that, then we're all God's children. I understand that we all come from God. We are God. God is love. God is light. We're all going to go there if we want to go there. And he doesn't turn any of his children away, Mm-hmm. And that's something I've learned to accept also. And I always thought all this was just a bunch of bullshit until this happened to me. And now I don't see it as that. I see it as, wow, this is the real deal. This is really what's going on here.
My wife likes to say, I don't want to spoil the ending, but everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So,
And I feel that way. And I think that I've always been kind of an optimist in that way. Like, even at my worst, like I knew deep down that things would improve. And, even at my worst days and darkest days, it's like, I always knew that I'd come out of it and kind of get back on top. So I hope that this just resonates with one person even, and they can see, like, careful what you say, be careful what you because your words are weighted. And even if you don't feel like you have a relationship with God at the time, he hears everything, sees everything, he knows everything. And if he needs to almost kill you to get you to realize, then that's what he will do. He will go there. I mean, some people need that, and I think I needed that jarring experience,
yeah.
and that to wake me up. And I mean, I didn't even cognitively say, okay, well, I need to change my life because I almost died. I just thought about it. I got home that night and I thought, oh my God, I almost died today. I almost died today, and I really need to start reevaluating what's important to me and what's not important to me. And then, I still messed up. I still relapsed a couple of times after that. Like, it wasn't like, okay, well, I'm going to give up drugs and be done with it. I mean, it's an addiction. It's hard. But every time that I did relapse, it was like further and further apart and lesser. And eventually it's just like, oh, I did it the one last time. This sucks. This isn't even, it's like you just like are above it. It's like, oh, this is below me. I can't even, this is not even good for me.
Yeah.
So,
well, Nichole, your message is going to help a lot of people.
I hope so.
So any parting words that you want to leave
Don't be afraid to die. I mean, we're all gonna someday anyway. We're all dying slowly anyhow,
Yeah.
but it's not something that's scary, and to just really choose your words wisely. And if you think that something is a certain way and you say it, then it very well could become concrete. I never really expected that I'd go to work the very next day after I said those things and almost really die. I mean, I was very close. I was very close to death. I mean, coming in and out of consciousness as many times as I did. And then the funny thing is, the lady that was with me, Mildred, I mean, I see her as my savior. This is my friend's wife. She doesn't speak English. I don't speak a ton of Spanish. She says to me 2 months later after this happened, she was, Nichole, I videotape you in the ambulance. I videotape you.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Wow.
So now it's on videotape too of my whole experience. If she ever leaks that, I'll kill her. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. And when we have a really, like, I will forever be indebted to her. Like, she is my hero. She saved my life. I feel like we have this bond now that we didn't have before. But yeah, no, just be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you say.
Yeah,
And
I agree. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We may do this again sometime if you're open to that. And we'll see.
Absolutely.
We'll see where this goes. And like I said, I believe your message is going to help a lot of people. So
I hope so.
You're on the right track. Thank you again for taking the time out to do this. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.